So now your map should look something like this, right? You've got the span CMA CT 2016 that you have intersected with this polygonized version of this image, right? So you've got the areas of green vegetation, medium density residential, and urban / water here. And you've got it broken up into a whole bunch of little points, 60 some thousand, or not points, polygons, sorry. I won't say the exact answer because it's a quiz question, although it's easy enough to find in the video. But anyway, so now we've got to move on to the next step, right? We are interested in knowing the area of green vegetation cover per census tract, right? So we've got all these polygons here. Again, whole bunch. All the census tracts have been subdivided based on sort of what's going on, right? Urban, residential, green veg. We don't really care what the area of the urban or the residential is, right? We just want to know the area of the green vegetation. So I'm going to show you sort of a quick, simple way to calculate that. We can go add field. And we're just going to call this field green veg area. Arc does not like spaces, right? So make sure to do an underscore for the field name. You can put spaces in the alias if you want to, but I find it's best to just go with the underscore. Now, as I talked about in module 3, this data type is really important. We want to make sure we specify it as a double because that will allow us to have decimal points. By default, it goes to long, which is just a type of integer and would not allow decimal points, right? So with that, we can hit save. So what we're going to do here now, close this window, right? We've got this green veg area thing here. And basically anywhere where the grid code value is equal to 3, right? That's vegetation. And we want to know the area of that. Anywhere where the grid code value is 1 or 2, we don't really care because that's not green vegetation, so it shouldn't get added to green veg area. So we're going to go select by attribute. Make sure that the advanced CMA CT is selected. We're going to go new selection. We're going to say where grid code is equal to, and then just select 3. We're going to click apply. And you see it should select all of those. Now you can right click and you can go calculate field. We're going to do a really simple expression here. We're just going to say green veg area is equal to shape area, right? We're going to click apply. And note that it only gives values to the selected columns, right? This is important. We can exploit this. Now we want to select all of the 1s and the 2s and give them 0 value, right? Now, because we're just doing an either or scenario, right? We've selected the ones we care about and populated it. And we would just want to give 0s to all the other ones. We don't have to do the select by attribute again. We can just click this switch selection button. You switch that, you notice it picks all the other ones, right? And so here, don't leave shape area in here, right? Because we just want to give it 0 values, just type 0. Takes a little longer because there's a lot more of these, right? But notice now we've got all these 0. So we can close this and make sure we clear that selection. And now we've got the area for all the vegetated green areas. That's, again, the areas with lots of tree cover or grass, what have you, right? Or marsh, stuff like that. And 0s for all the other areas, right? So can zoom to this selection. This is a 0. Zoom to this selection. This one is approximately 800 square meters, right? So make sure you clear your selections before moving forward. Now we're going to run another tool. This one's also quite handy. We use it quite a bit, called a dissolve. Right? So the dissolve command requires some special consideration. What we're going to do is we're going to use this van CMA CT 2016 as the input. And then for the dissolve fields, right, we're going to dissolve by the CTU ID, right? We want to make sure you select this original one. And then what it's going to do is we've got this option for statistics fields. These are all the ones we want to keep. Anything we don't specify in here is going to get tossed out. So we have to be sort of diligent about this, right? So there's some information we want to keep. We want to keep population. And so what this is going to do, right, before I go into telling you what these statistics we want to select are, what this is going to do, this dissolve is just going to say, okay, everywhere that has a value with a CTU ID of 9330187.11, all these are going to get squashed down to just one record, and it will take whatever values we have, say population, and aggregate. Notice that population, housing, income are all going to be the same for any given CTU ID because they've just been sort of arbitrarily subdivided. So to an extent, it doesn't matter for certain choices, right? But if we select sum, it's going to add all these up, which we definitely don't want, right? But you could select either mean or first, and it would give you the same answer, right? Because these are all the same. But let's just select mean to be safe, right? First would just give you, okay, well, we're going to take this value and apply it to all these, right? So we want population. We want housing. Again, go with mean. Do not use sum here, or you will get a very wrong answer because it's just going to double count, triple count, quadruple count, all these extras. And we want income, right? Again, mean. Now, we don't need all these extra rows that have been added to stuff. They're not really important. We don't need this zone code. We don't need to count. We do want this mean NDVI value, right? So we're going to say mean NDVI. And here, again, we want that mean value. Could also select median. It's going to give you the same answer, right? Anything that's going to aggregate first, last, mean, median, min, max, they're all the same. So it doesn't really matter. Just make sure you don't check sum, don't check standard deviation, don't check count, right? So just make sure they all say mean, just to be safe, right? And then, again, we don't really care about all these extra ones either, but we do want this green veg area, right? Scroll down to the very bottom, select that. Here, we do want sum, right? So in here, right, all part of the same census tract. We want to squash them all together. We want to sum them up, right? So for green veg area, we want to make sure that it says sum, because if this says mean, it's just going to give you the average of all the sizes of these little patches, which isn't necessarily useful. We want the total area of, say, open tree canopy or a healthy tree canopy, right, within a neighborhood, for instance, right? So we go population, housing, income, mean NDVI. Leave all these for mean. Green veg area, sum. And then we don't really need all of these other pieces of information. They're just going to get tossed out the window when we hit run. And so let's give it a meaningful name because this is our final input. So we'll say van CMA CT veg area, or maybe that's not even good. NDVI vegetation. Right. Van CMA CT NDVI veg. Doesn't really matter what you name it as long as it's something that makes sense to you, but this is the name that I'm going to use to refer to it henceforth in the lab. So go ahead and hit run. This will take a second to go through. And then, oh, notice that I had this layer selected. So this is the only one that it applied to, right? This comes up over and over and over. You have to clear that selection, and then you can hit run. It'll take a lot longer because it's doing a whole lot more records. But eventually, you get the update, right? And you'll notice that this one is now sort of back to the original size of this one, right? It's no longer infinitely subdivided, not infinite, but you know what I mean. No longer all those little polygons. It's just like this, right? But if you open the attribute table, you'll note that it's got a lot less records. It's got the things that we care about, right? Now it added this extra mean part to it. We don't really care. It made the column names a little more clunky, whatever. That's fine. We can edit that out when we make our legends and stuff. The point is that there's a whole lot less data here. We've only got the things we care about. The total population, the mean housing cost, mean income, the mean NDVI value. Note even that it cut off some of the name here. So we might want to edit these column names. And then the sum veg. Now, if we want to edit these column names, it's pretty easy to do. Just right-click on any one, you go to Fields, and it'll let you edit these things, right? So we can edit out this mean part. So it just says population. You can do that for the alias too. So this one, remember, you want to name it mean underscore NDVI. And then this one, this is descriptive. You can leave it as is, right? Some green veg area, some green veg area, because that is exactly what it is. We want to be explicit about it. Save those changes. And voila. Now you can say, symbolize this by total green veg area per census tract. And obviously, you're going to end up with this giant forest area up here looking way different than the rest of them, but we'll cover that in the next step.